Travis,
Johnny F. and Hopper, welcome to the Moto Aftermath show, my friend.
it's a pleasure to be back on.
Dude, so I apologize. We were supposed to have you on a couple weeks ago. Are you washing dishes?
I was just washing my hands because I was having some lunch.
So I apologize. We were supposed to have you on a couple weeks ago. I misread the text and had a brain fart, and here we are. And didn't have you on. So that was my bad. That was my fault. So, but we will
I
make up
just
for
always
it.
blame concussion. I say, hey, we've hit our heads too many times, so because it's always better to blame. Take ownership for anything. I mean, just look at the sport. That's the go-to.
Everything's fine, man. Everything's fine. My head is fine. Your head's fine. We're good. Everything's good, man. We're good. Everything's fine.
You do know what FINE stands for, right, Travis?
Fucked in the ass or something like that. I don't know.
No. It stands for frustrated, irritated, nervous, and emotional.
Every single day of my life.
Yeah, I just always make fun because whenever somebody says I'm fine, I'm like, no, you're not. You're the opposite of fine. That's when you usually run the other direction.
Yep. So Johnny, you're an Arizona local there, so you were at the race this weekend, correct?
I was.
Okay. Was it as boring in the stadium as it was on TV? Because I gotta say, I fell asleep several times during this race, and nothing happened while I was sleeping.
Well, I mean, the sections were kind of cool, but it was really, really one line.
Yeah.
Even the whoops that was supposed to separate some guys, the way they had it mapped out, the hot line was go from one area and drift to the inside, and so you really couldn't stuff anybody anywhere. And then the split lane ended up kind of being a fail because everyone was able to, at least when I was watching practice, a lot of the 250 guys didn't have the oomph to be able to triple on the inside. So they were having to go wide, which made sense because they'd go triple, quad into the corner, which was obviously slower because it was more airtime, and then you were set up basically T-boning a 180-degree corner. But in the main event, everybody was able to, at least all the factory bikes in the 250s and the 450s were able to triple from the inside. So it was literally just follow the leader. And the split lane, in my opinion, man, I saw so many guys go down hard in free practice and even in qualifying because you're taking a small section and then you're cutting it in half by having tough blocks down the middle. And there were so many riders that hit the tough blocks in the middle. And when you're doing a quad or a big triple, the last thing you want to do is have your front wheel hit a tough block. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of riders that ended up. I think Styles Robertson's got hurt. I saw Wageman go down really hard, and then there was a few others.
Yeah, it was. The split lane. I had high hopes for it in practice and qualifying there when we were watching it, and as soon as the racing took off, I was like, nope, that sucks. There's just nothing to it. So, why do you think the track didn't work, man? Because we had long rhythm lanes, we had bowl turns at the end, like we had what should have lined up as a decent track, because they always talk about like the long rhythm lanes allow you to gain momentum, gain speed, and actually work it and get somebody. And then obviously bowl turns too help with that also, because then you get to the end and you can go up and block past somebody in the bowl turns. But why do you think the track didn't work with having both of those elements essentially?
If I'm being completely honest, I think it was. I don't want to say cookie cutter because somebody like me couldn't go out there and hit those big rhythm lanes. But because the dirt is so hard here in Arizona, it's kind of like in Nevada, the Vegas rounds, and even in Colorado and Denver, it becomes so blue grooved. So these guys are able to scrub off of everything, and everyone is able to do that fast line. So it ends up being almost like just a road race straightaway during every section, because these guys aren't having to take different lines with jumping and landing in a different rut, and that rut is taking you somewhere else. it was literally fairly smooth. The track didn't deteriorate near as much as we've seen other tracks do. And honestly, I had real high hopes for free practice and everything, because when I was talking with the riders, a lot of the riders thought that they brought in different dirt, but
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't different dirt. It was just the difference between dirt in February versus, dirt in April.
Yep.
It's a little bit hotter now, and so it was able to keep a little bit more moisture for a little bit longer. But then we saw in the night show, it was just still that hard packed blue groove, a little bit of choppy holes here and there, but that split lane really ruined it with being able to have a good, solid, faster line on the inside. And I get the track designers trying to make the inside a faster line so that riders have to carry more momentum to slow them down by going a little bit further distance on the outside. But it just didn't work out. And then the whole after the whoop section, that was all just incredibly one line. Half the track was just follow the leader, where you couldn't even potentially make a pass because you're on the inside for the finish line. Then there was just a triple to a table, which that was, could you imagine somebody trying to go around somebody on the outside of that table?
Oh,
And,
no way.
they get cross jumped or something. They're going into the bleachers.
Yeah.
And then the whoop section, with it being almost a 70-degree corner, 70-degree corner straightaway, that really screwed people up too, with being able to make a lot of passes. Because typically in a long whoop section, when you have a corner afterwards, these guys end up carrying so much speed that you'll even see them start to rotate their feet back onto the brakes in the last couple whoops to be able to slow down. But here, you could literally, the big factory bikes that have enough oomph to just stay on top of them, they could just keep it wide open. And I saw a bunch of guys almost high side because they are going real fast. The last couple whoops, they hop out, and then they hit that real blue groove dirt because they're accelerating because they don't need to brake. And then that bike just catches, and it just gives them this weird fishtail because now they're all of a sudden leaned over.
Mm-hmm.
So the design of the track is really what made it a bummer.
Yeah. So anything else interesting that you saw or whatever, like actually in person there, or like talking to anybody? Because I assume you went in the pits for at least a little bit and talked to some riders. So anything interesting catch your eyes, your ears, that kind of stuff while you were there that we didn't see on the broadcast here?
Yeah, well, there was stuff going down with some top riders with like Smart Top. They were all upset in free practice because one of the riders, Cole Seeley, ran into Stank Dog, and Stank Dog's not a guy that you're wanting to get in an altercation with because he's an arena cross guy that's going to be heard. And Smart Top, I believe they're completely in the right with having their guys A-Rod and Cole Seeley. They should be in A practice, not B practice,
Mm-hmm.
because they're quite a bit faster than some of the other riders. And so that was really one of the big things. And then talking with a couple of the privateers, they were, I don't know, the Triple Crown is just tough because they're fighting so hard to get inside top 18. And then it's just an all-out war in the LCQ, which is tough. But that LCQ means a lot because it's, let's just say you qualify like 30th or something, but you finish fifth in the LCQ, you're going to make more money than just based off your qualifying time. So a lot of the riders were kind of going for broke in the LCQ because, they're going after pennies when it comes to stuff. But other than that, I talked with some teams that aren't happy with the 31 race series,
don't say.
Yeah, but of course, and then there was some other stuff where some teams told me some stuff that they didn't want to have public about just the silly season and that sort of thing. But truthfully, there wasn't much craziness going on. I know during the future stuff, one of the communication director at Club MX, he had a good lecture to all the futures riders to just kind of tell them, hey guys, this is a full blown supercross track. Like, don't die instantly. Don't do something silly.
Yeah.
You want to start off young and trying to give a good message of longevity, which I really, really enjoyed hearing, which normally if I wasn't at the race, I wouldn't be able to hear that kind of stuff. And then there were some riders that instantly just didn't even listen to it. And I saw some little altercation with Rider D and free practice. There were some guys that were just banging bars, and you're just sitting there going, guys, this is free practice. Why are you banging bars? And then the next time they're out on the track, this particular rider was over the bars and couldn't race. So just lots of nerves. But I think there's a lot to be said with the industry, where even as I don't want to be negative in no way, shape, or form, but there's a thing that's the exception in the rule, and all of us always think that we're the exception, but more than likely, 99% of us end up being the rule, right?
Yeah.
Even if you hold your pro card, the chances of you being a Tomac or something is, that's the exception. But where I'm getting at this is a lot of moto dads, I see push these kids and tell them that they have to go do this kind of stuff when they need to just kind of take it easy. And this is just one of those weird sports where it's not so much a team until you actually get on a team. And even when you get on a team, there's still like an A guy and a B guy. Mm-hmm. And you're always trying to be better than that one person. So it's just a weird dynamic. And then I don't know. I guess I could talk a lot about this, where parents almost get what I see happen with a lot of the kids, even walking around is, these parents are kind of like, hey, I spent a lot of money, you owe me that I got you here and blah, blah, blah. And truth be told, most of these kids that are still 15 to 17, they didn't ask their parents to mortgage the house to pay for them to go to a facility and all this stuff. So there's just this abnormal pressure on these kids. So it makes perfect sense as to why you see them blow up in free practice, because A, there's so much pressure on them, and then B, they're on a track that is really hard to practice because most people don't have the resources to practice a track like this.
Yeah. Yeah, those moto parents drive me insane. And actually that just covers any of these parents in general with kids with sports. Like, if you don't have the money to go do it, don't risk the farm on the fact that your kid's going to get an NFL contract or a Yamaha contract or be the next Olympic gold medalist, gymnast. Like, get the fuck out of here. There is way, way, way too long of odds to do that. Teach your kid how to make money, how to be wealthy. Figure it out for yourself, because obviously you don't know, because you're trying to rely on your kids to make this money for you to be wealthy or have money or whatever. So, like, go figure that stuff out. Don't try to force your kids into doing sports and things they don't want to do. If your kid wants to do it, great. If they have the talent to keep moving up and you have the resources, awesome. Otherwise, fuck off. Like, my daughter rides, and I love that she rides. It's awesome. However, I also know, and as much as I would love for her to race and really be into it like that, she's more of a social rider. She'll go out when we go to the track and ride with the other kids because she can ride with them, and then she goes over and says hi when we're done, and she can play with them and all that crap like that. But she's not going to be a racer or the next, the female version of Eli Tomac or any of that crap. And you know what? I'm not pushing her to be. If you don't want to do it, great, awesome, cool. If you want to be able to ride and like that's all you want to do is ride casually, that's awesome too. Here's what I'd rather teach you: how to make money, keep money, build wealth, build a business, that kind of stuff, things that will make you money and that we can do together and all of that good kind of stuff without putting the family at risk. So it's an interesting thing, man.
Travis, I agree and disagree with you at the same time. The first part that I disagree with, respectively. I love you, Travis, and um, just fortune favors the brave. So if you're going to be good at anything, you might as well try to be the best you can be at it.
True.
I think the problem that you shared as well is the ideology that at the end of the day, the parents then owe something from their kids by turning them into a celebrity or a famous writer or a professional athlete of any sort, which I feel like that is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Go bet the farm, go do all that stuff. But if you're doing it for the expectation that your kid is going to take care of you at the end, well, that's unfair pressure, because the usually kids are not mentally capable of understanding what they're signing up for when they don't even have a choice of signing up for it. And me just being a new parent, my job is to prepare my kid to be okay without me, not always
Yes.
be glued to me.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I have a problem with. And then if people are willing to bet the farm or something, man, why don't maybe don't have the fine writing that your kid then owes you everything. Why not then? Why don't the parents go bet the farm to start a business or blah 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 and see if that works or something? So then they're not able to blame anybody but themselves.
Okay.
But again, that's how I feel so much stuff gets off kiltered, is just the expectations from the kids that they're not willing. They just don't. Here, I'm just saying too much, but go for it, Travis.
No. This is perfect, and I actually wholeheartedly agree with you, to the point that I'm going to mold my stance here. Okay, you're absolutely right. If you want to take that chance and bet the farm on your kid doing something like that to make money, totally fine. Please go do it. Okay, but do not do it with the expectation that your kid then owes you something, whether it works or doesn't. Okay, you're betting the farm, you're making that choice. I agree with you with the fortune favors the bold. Okay, I mean, we're all doing it. I know you're an entrepreneur who has several different businesses and streams of income and all that kind of stuff, Johnny. I'm the same way, and it's like, here we are, like, we are essentially making a bet. Like, I'm betting the farm that this business that I'm trying to grow, this YouTube channel I'm trying to grow, all this stuff will work out at the end. Whether it does or doesn't, who knows? We'll never know. But I don't do it with the expectation, like I would never do that to my child with the expectation of, hey, you want to do, like, she's really into gymnastics. I would never push her so hard in gymnastics of, like, you have to become the next Olympic gold medal gymnastics person so that I can have fame and fortune off of your back. I would do it so that she could have it herself. And when we're done, if she doesn't want to ever give me a dime or talk to me again, well, then that was a risk I took, and, like, okay, fine, I'll deal with that. And basically, I'm not afraid to start over if something fails, where I feel like a lot of these parents do this and they're very afraid to start over. And then if they do have to start over, it's like they're blaming the kid, whatever, which is totally not fair. Like, you took the risk, you knew what the odds were here, and it didn't work. Okay, cool. That was on you. Accept responsibility for it. It's not the kid's fault. Like you said, the kids don't really know. And then move on to the next thing and let's go. Let's go rebuild, So, and if it works out, great, cool. Then everybody's happy. And hopefully you have cultured a relationship good enough, unlike, say, like Davey Millsaps, for example, because he's very public that the relationship he has with his parents, Josh Grant's another one, that they got to that point where they were making money, and then, like, it exploded because, again, as we're talking about, the parents expected something to be there, and it wasn't, and then all sorts of things have happened, and you guys can go look that up. I don't need to comment on all that, but it didn't work out in the end for the relationship between the two of them. So, yeah, I guess I've talked myself in circles here, and nothing even to do with the race.
Yeah, so sorry, I got you off onto a whole different tangent. The final thing I will say is, how do you solve the problem then? Because it's education.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents, there's no information out there that, hey, if my kid gets his pro license, that he's going to be able to sustain himself and me at the same time. But if there's more education out there to be like, oh, actually, literally 8 out of the 10 riders that are on the track are having to come up with money to get to the next race. They are not pocketing enough money. Yep. And if that was more public knowledge to people, well, I think a lot of parents would be like, you know what, maybe we're not going to mortgage this because there's even a less likelihood that it's going to work out at the end.
Yep.
And I feel the sport and the industry is so embarrassed about how much money is available that they try to hide it. And personally, that's maybe why I'm not as welcome at some stuff, and I'm a little bit painted as somebody that's not for the sport, which is the complete opposite of the narrative that I want to have. It's like I'm an activist for the privateers and for the longevity of the sport. But in order to fix something, you first have to point out what is broken. And then you have to, it's not a matter of how, it's a matter of who. Who do you get involved that has the resources and able to make the solution, right?
Yep. And and this just goes into points that we've all covered several times, and it's just like Coach says all the time, like, he has backing to start a team. The funds are there. The people are there. He could go start a team, a pro team today, but he refuses because there's no real way to monetize that team to produce an ROI. And so because of that, he refuses to start a team. And I do think this is something that if we got everyone somewhat on the same page here, and this goes promoters, riders, teams, etc., and said, hey, let's build a foundation where there can be an ROI for everyone. Because even though the sport's small and the sport's niche and all these other things that go along with it, there's still money there. Okay, there's money there. And I mean, obviously we don't know exact figures and everything, but obviously Feld and MX Sports are making money at this stuff. If they weren't, like, you wouldn't be in business after all these years. You just wouldn't continue to put races on. But there's money there. They're making money. How much is it? Who knows? Because everything's so secretive. And like you said, some of these parents, they don't have a real grip. They don't get behind the scenes enough of the sport to figure out how the money ebbs and flows and what the actual ROI on stuff is. All they see is like the Ken Roxons, the Eli Tomacks, and think, man, there's tons of money. They have to be making tons of money. And it's like, as soon as you get outside, say, the top 10, we'll call it, it's like, man, there's really not much money there. Like, there are some of those guys that are making money, but it's very little, and then it drops off to the negatives very quickly. So, I'm with you. It's like, if we had some better better transparency and some better education in the sport of like, hey, this is where you can make money, this is where the money is, this is where the money isn't, this is how much it's going to cost to do this. If you're not an Eli Tomac or whatever, if you are a Kevin Moran's, a Devin Raper, a Stank Dog, any of those guys that are paying their way to get there themselves, this is how much it's going to cost.
I don't know how they continue to do it.
I can't figure it out either, man. I can't figure it out either.
Especially guys like Devin Raper, or dudes that are barely even making the Fast 40.
Yeah. I don't understand it, man. It blows
Which, don't get me
mind.
wrong, they go to a local race or something, or at their hometown, like, they are heroes.
Yeah.
They are record holder college level athletes, but they just don't get the recognition with a dollar sign in front of it. And so the issue that I have is everyone wants to complain about money. And like, typically how a business works is the hardest way is to try to go find more money, go raise more money to make everybody happy, when in reality what you should be looking is, how do we cut costs? How do we make this more affordable to then move it on there? And like, dirt bikes are already expensive. You're looking at 10, 12 grand for a decent dirt bike. And then why in the hell do you then need to go have $10,000 suspension added and then $5,000 motor work added and all this stuff to try to be competitive.
Yep.
Like that's where the sport is getting out of hand, is they need to cut the costs so that it can be, here's the small little liberal in me, and I hate saying this, but in order to share some of the profits on stuff, is you first have to cut the costs on stuff, cut the level of entry so that more sponsors can come in. And if a team is looking, they're not like, hey, okay, this spot on the truck is 250,000. They could do so much more and have so much. Like, why is it that we don't have outside sponsors in the sport? Why is it that it's everything from VP to Dunlop to Enzo to all the normal sponsors that we know? That's such a niche. You don't have anything. You don't have much outside money, and that's. Sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I love hearing myself talk, and sometimes it's hard for me to collect my own thoughts, so I will just shut up.
No,
I
you're
agree with
fine.
that. It's just like it's because everything's so hillbilly. I mean, there's no framework for anything. It's almost like, hey, show up, pay your money, race, and that's it. Like for sponsors, they buy a logo. They don't know where the logo's going. They don't know if it's going on the side of the truck. They don't know where it's going on TV. It's basically just like, hey, give us $250,000 and then we'll do whatever we want with it. I feel like the sponsors need to know where their money is going, and we don't have that right now. So,
well, you don't have repeat sponsors. Where like I said this we had a conversation about this on my live show on Friday. Is
shit show, bro.
Like Jimmy John's.
Where did all the Jimmy John's, the whole Geico Honda deal? Yeah, Ram, Chevy, Toyota, a lot of stuff. They just, even the SmartFi stuff, the crypto of Supercross, like all these guys, they don't get a return on their investment. So
I didn't think about that till you just said that. But that SmartFi was all over the series last year, and where the hell are they now?
Yeah, they're not out of business.
No,
but
there's just no engagement.
Well, they pay their money, they sponsor 1 year, and then they're just like,
yeah.
Oh, my logo's there, and there. Why is it not where we thought it was going to be?
Yeah. So, that is, man, that is super. Man, it's frustrating because as we've all talked about 100 times, it's there's ways to do this, and we know there's ways to do this, and if we could just get a little powwow going, little team powwow.
Well, the only thing I put hope into is just guys like Lucas Myrtle and Brian Deegan coming into the sport that know how to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe their voices will be
Absolutely.
heard.
Yeah. Lucas, I think, is a big proponent. The other one that I really like is Johnny. Do you watch any of like AJ Catanzaro stuff or listen to it?
He does a good job. He does a really good job.
Dude, I talked to his main camera guy, that cameraman Cam dude in Indy. Because they had just put the Daytona vlog out, and I was like, dude, that was super good. Of like, it wasn't. I mean, it's not a vlog. They're essentially doing almost, I want to say, kind of like a mini documentary, but like with a vlog somewhat twist to it. And he told me, he goes, that's exactly what we're going for. Is we're trying to do stuff that doesn't look like it should be on YouTube, and yeah, no, it's really good, and I like the direction they're going. So, and I try to listen to their podcast during the week too, because they have some different insights than what most people do. So, I really like the direction that they're going there. So,
yeah, AJ is a prime example of having a problem and not trying to solve it yourself, but finding good people around you to help it get it done.
Yeah.
And that's what I respect a lot about AJ.
Yeah. So,
and Club MX, what their camera guy Rob is doing with all of their midweek prep videos, which they're more like video blogs, but that is really a cool dynamic that I could definitely see teams building such a good following that here comes those outside sponsors because of the presence you have. Again, that's the whole, I want to call it the Deegan phenomenon, because they were able to really market themselves really, really well, and it's going to help him throughout the livelihood of his career, whether or not, he win any championships or what, which I highly doubt. But let's just hypothetically say that, he never wins a championship. Well, he's probably going to make more money than somebody that does have a number one plate.
Yeah.
I agree.
What's the odds you think that Deegan goes to the promoters and says that they want to get paid to be there because of the eyeballs they put on it?
The likelihood of that going, so we're talking like a Conor McGregor type deal where you're going to the promotion and you're like, hey, if you want me in this, we're getting a little bit of this. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think the sport is so small. And there are, at least the Deegans, I believe a lot of their content is based around their little boy Hayden.
Yeah.
And it's part of being on Supercross. So I don't think that they are willing to risk them saying, nope, we're not going to pay you. And so therefore you leave the sport. I don't think they're going to risk that. No. So I would say that the likelihood of that is probably very limited.
But do they leave the sport, or do they take the eyeballs to World Supercross? Because that's one thing. I mean, I know we're all going to start talking here about World Supercross struggling and they don't have the guys and all this kind of crap like that this year, because this year kind of definitely looks like we'll call it a building year for them. With the talent.
Well, it's like their first full season of like 6 races or so.
Yeah. So like in my mind here, we've watched Deegan come up through the ranks. We've watched him with these amateur races, and when you watch the amateur races, they have the live view count. And when his race comes up, that live view count starts spiking. Like it goes.
Brian's got those numbers written down somewhere that he can take into a deal and leverage.
So I have to believe with Supercross here, especially that especially Brian, being the savvy businessman he is looking at the numbers of, say, the East Coast races when Hayden's there versus the West Coast races, and going, well, look at all these extra eyeballs we're bringing into the races here. Because I will tell you,
we'll look at the whole Jordan Smith and him thing.
Bingo!
Look at that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you
everything's
that
under a microscope.
Doing videos on our small channel where we talk about Deegan, which this clip will get clipped because it's got his name on it, draws in 10 times more views than what I can get with a jet vid. I mean, it's not even 10. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of multiples compared to what I can even get with a Jet Lawrence verse or whatever. So, like, it is unbelievable how much they move the needle.
Travis, my whole take of it is they pretty much could go to any factory that they want and say, hey, here's a bottom line. If you're not going to pay it, somebody else will.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in that. But going to the series and saying you're going to take a lot of the viewership elsewhere, I think that's getting into maybe creating too big of a head that Deegan has that kind of an impact. And maybe he will get to that point. But the deal that Deegan has is essentially, in finance, they call it FU money. It's, where you've got such a build of a base to you that if you move somewhere else, you're going to be okay. So you can take stuff to your advantage. And I definitely think he has used this stuff to his advantage.
Oh, 100%.
And that's why at the beginning of this, I said he's, no matter what, regardless, which I highly doubt will not win a championship, but if he doesn't, he's still going to make more money doing it. And he has the options. So, right, his views give him options to where if he wanted a ride in World Supercross, he would almost get one guaranteed. If he wanted a ride in Factory Honda, it would go to the top of the list. Like, his presence gives him options.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing with that. But that also comes with, like, I don't. It also comes with just a lot of risk as well. because he could potentially shoot himself in the foot because he's got so many people watching him as well.
Yeah.
Microscope, man.
Yeah. I mean, it could, man. I don't know. It could get very.
Watch why all the star Yamaha guys potentially don't want to be teammates with him. It's because they'd rather go somewhere else.
Johnny,
and
quit talking conspiracies here. There are no issues there. Nothing might have not happened in that truck after the Detroit incident. There is no problems over there.
I believe future.
Kumbaya.
This is a lot of future talk, but if they are able to get the sponsor structures and all that stuff around, I wouldn't put it past them to go start their own team. Do you see something like that?
I don't know about that so much. Mostly because
I think that's way more likely than them asking the Supercross to pay them a good percentage of stuff.
Like Brian can be like, hey, I got Deegan 38 brand, whoever he's connected to.
Yeah.
He can, whatever sponsor it may be, he can go in there and be like, look, Supercross, and Supercross is going to want their piece of the pie, so he can be like, you guys get this percent. We're bringing these guys in, but they want this, this, and this. We're going to run our own team, blah, blah, blah. Done and over with. That way, they don't have to deal with the bullshit of the other guys. It's their rules.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I could see that happening. It's just, again, it all goes back to, Feld, SMX, whatever the hell they are now.
Yep.
Providing a laid out document structure of, you sponsor the series, you sponsor a team in the series, you're getting this, this, and this kind of thing, Like the NBA. Like when you sign with the Lakers, you're getting a logo right here, and you're getting this kind of exposure with this athlete, etc.
So,
which we don't have.
They're definitely probably working on it. Like just the same thing that you've got one of the best, arguably the competitor to the GOAT, James Stewart. I was at the races, and his Bubba's podcast was all over the place. So how do you not work with Feld in order to get that stuff? And that's why like his production value on stuff has gone up his bunch, where like I'm not able to take footage directly from Feld. Like they don't send me the raw clips of it, but they'll send, granted, not comparison, because comparison is the theft of joy, but I'm just saying that, Bubba and his business savvy has worked with Feld to make it beneficial for both of them, which has been smart. I love Bubba in the booth as opposed to some other people. I think he does a really good job, but at the same time, I kind of put a guard up when I hear him talk about certain things, because I'm like, who are you answering to where you potentially don't want to come off not on the side of the majority? Like Mark Twain says, if you find yourself on the side of the majority, you should stop and reflect. And that was the same thing with the whole Deegan and Smith thing. Like
he's getting the footage from Feld. Now Feld they have leverage to control their narrative,
What do you think? This is something that's been rattling around in my head. What do you think the play is for James? Like, obviously he was not even anywhere around the sport for years here. Now all of a sudden he's back. Now he's in the booth. Now he's doing commentary. Now he's doing the podcast. So what's the end game here for JS7? Like, is he trying to take Ricky's job? Like, what do we think he's trying to do here? Because there's got to be a play. There's got to be a play.
A body in motion stays in motion. You got to do something. You can't just sit. Like, everyone chases retirement, and then once they're retired, whether they're in their 30s or their 60s, most of the time people die is because there's nothing ever to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's nice every now and again to have a nice little vacation with a mojito or whatever, but it's not a sustainable thing as far as staying happy. And part of staying happy is being intuitive and keeping yourself busy and feeling like you're making an impact in some aspect. And James, I think it's an awesome thing that he's using the leverage of what he's built his entire life and has turned it now into, potentially helping, giving back, growing the sport a bit. And I see him being some sort of a media commentator for the foreseeable future. And I think it's perfectly smart. I mean, we see so many riders that end up committing suicide or just being unhappy after they hang up two wheels, is because they don't feel like they have a purpose anymore. And so you have to stay busy. And that's why you see guys like, maybe I'm putting words in other people's mouth, but you see Carmichael, you see Justin Brayton, you see, Ryan Dungey, you see all these guys becoming team managers or whatnot, staying. Antonio Caroli, right?
Yeah.
He's now the boss of Hurlings. Like you
Dungy's a
can't
whole
just
other topic. I
not.
think he's lost in the business world, but RD Coffee's done, if you guys didn't know.
Is it really?
Yeah, he's shutting it down.
He shut down RD Coffee.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, that stuff was good. I was just trying to get a discount on his shit because it was too expensive. But
yeah, something on his business side must not be working. I mean, Geico thing didn't last long. The coffee thing's done already.
Well, I think with the Geico,
that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I don't know with that. I think he had an itch to scratch with the retirement and not really wanting to be done, and I think he. Well,
Cole Seeley had a coffee deal, and hey, why is Cole Seeley back now?
Yeah.
Like it's
and Cole Seeley back racing now. Like
they're bored and they don't know what to do.
Yeah,
that's the long and skinny of
it. Yeah. Is you got to stay busy, and it's really hard to feel. Like people always think success is determined by like what you have, and almost like what people think of you, and it's the big issue that I have with society is like a true measure of success is not comparing yourself to others, but comparing yourself to your past, and there's a lot of us that feel an emptiness that we're not real. We're not owning up to our potential. We don't have as much as the next guy. We're not keeping up with the Joneses or whatever. And it's such, I almost want to call it like, it's just a lethal injection that you have in society. And I feel like it's a 10X when it comes to riders, is because they really don't have a sense of self after racing. And it's so small that it's just, it's sad. And, that's why I don't know where I'm going with that again, Travis, you guys. I'm going more like philosophical here, but there's a lot of irony into why you see so many guys come out of retirement and they stay around the sport.
Yeah.
It's because they don't know what else to do.
Yep.
And they don't have the skill set to go do something else. And so here they are. And if you're fortunate enough to be a Brayton or a Dungey or somebody that has connections to be able to get in, like I was talking to some of the photographers down at the race, and they've completely changed it all up, where they're only allowing like 3 or 4 cameras on track at all times. And, they're trying to own everything. So that nobody can really take photos of anything. And so like every team that has like a video blogger or something, they're now not considered a media guy. They're considered like a marketing director, so that they can get around the whole weird rules of not being able to have a camera. And all these guys are not allowed to have cameras on the track. You'll see these guys with $10,000 attachments to their cameras in the stands, which I just think is hilarious. And there's no money to be made there. It's just the whole sport is the way it's built is be happy that you're a part of the sport and don't want anything more.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know. I should DM Adam Bailey, and I don't know if you've talked to him ever, Johnny, but I'd be interested to know what their take is on different media outlets per se, with coming to the race and taking videos and taking pictures and different things like that, and like getting people on the floor there. I'd be super interested to know what that whole situation is.
And if they were smart, they would say, "Come steal our shit. Come steal
100%.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because this sounds this might sound really silly, that I get a lot of sometimes of my inspiration from other YouTubers, people that are more successful from me. And if you look at like one of the biggest ones, Mr. Beast, and he makes he's going to be like the first YouTube billionaire.
Yeah.
And he's also going to be the first person to spend $1 billion as well.
Yeah.
But there's a book I read that's called Steal Like an Artist. And it said that originality is just undetected plagiarism, which is exactly it. Somebody has a good idea, then somebody that has more resources steals your idea and then makes it better to what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's digital economy, yes, I'm calling it a digital economy. We could get into crypto and all this Web3 and blah, blah, blah. There's so much money to be made with monetization that once you steal an idea, it's going to come back to you in some way, shape, or form. That's why it's a little bit ticked off when I hear other people, Pulp, whatever, Racer X, Vital, they start trying to take ownership of certain things when it's like, God, people.
Oh, you're cutting out, Johnny.
See, because they like. Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, maybe it's me.
Can you hear me? I know we were.
No, my Wi-Fi is not hooked up anymore. That's weird.
Starlink out here.
Starlink's going sweet. There we go. Okay, now we got it. Okay, yeah. Sorry, gosh.
Am I back?
Yep, in the middle of the rant there. Dang it, that was good too.
Oh God, yeah. Leave it to Hopper to have a full blown rant. But if I'm going from the 10,000 foot view, is people, they go to Cooksey stuff because they want to see good journalism and some conspiracy. They go to Pulp MX because he gets to talk to some of the high riders where all their agents say you have to be on Pulp MX for 30 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
People come to you and I because they like a different take about stuff. But you really think that we're stealing anything from other people? No, when in reality, it's all coming back to everyone that contributed in the sport, and it's coming back to Supercross.
Yeah.
And it's growing everything up. So if Adam Bailey is smart, he's going to say, yeah, go take your GoPro footage, go take all this stuff, just go make a mass compound effect on the whole interweb, and it's going to build World Supercross.
Yep, 100%. So, well, Johnny, I said I'd keep you for a half hour. It's been like 45 minutes now because we're awesome at this. So, I appreciate you coming on, man. Always a great talk with you. So, thank you. Thanks for coming on. Much appreciated. We'll have you back soon. And just want to take note that my episode of the Shit Show is still like the second highest one now.
Jesus.
Oh, I didn't even know. So we'll have to have you back on Travis for sure, dude. And I love you, brothers. And thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
Cool. All right. Brop.
Yeah.
Brop. Later, bud.
Later.